And now the 419 with Gretchen DeBacker, Matt Killam, and Kevin Mullen. Oh.
Welcome into a Monday edition, a Mayor Monday edition of the 419, powered by WGTE and presented by Witro Wealth Management. I'm Kevin Mullen alongside
Gretchen DeBacker,
Matt Killam.
It's our first Mayor Monday edition where we're going to bring on, as we do this throughout the season, we're going to bring on different mayors from throughout the region to give us an update. I think, what we like to do is learn a little bit about kind of their background, what got them into that space, but then also take some time and talk about their vision and their goals for their region.
Yeah, it's not an easy gig, right? And a lot of people sign up for it on a volunteer basis, if not all of them. So how do you vacillate between the micro and macro needs of a relatively small community in the Midwest? It's a tough gig. And
so we're going to have Tim Pedro, the mayor of Waterville, is going to be joining us. And then we'll also have Nick Kaufman, a third-generation business owner that is in Waterville. Kaufman Engineered Services is going to be joining us as well, just to talk about kind of his. I'm always fascinated to talk to business owners and entrepreneurs, especially from the family business kind of perspective, to think about that generational piece.
Absolutely.
I know in my own family, my dad was in insurance. We probably talked about this, and he was very intentional about pushing us away from financial services, so that if we chose it, it was our own choosing.
My parents are attorneys, and what distanced me from that is my intellect.
And they didn't like you that much.
That's right.
Gretchen, you've got we got some publicity from the first week of the show.
Yes, we were featured on the Peach Weekender,
Which you are now holding for our radio listeners,
right? Which is I'm going to say it's a pretty good picture of the three of us sitting on our set, but very exciting. Thanks to the Blade for
You do not like the
covering
picture. I love
show.
the picture. In full candor, we've talked about this, or you've talked about it out loud ad nauseum. I think it's a very charming way. That is you laughing. I think you look great. Kevin is looking through me as he does on the set with his dead doll eyes. But certainly a nice thing. Again, based on even the interview, I hope it came through that we were a little uncomfortable because the show is almost nothing to do with us. But we do like bringing people on and hearing what they're doing. We do a lot of learning, at least I do, even from people who we claim to be our friends. But selfishly, it fills our buckets as well to hear all this great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It will never leave me when we had John Amato on the podcast, that he's talking about going to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And you and him are close, and you're like, wait, what?
What are you talking about?
But I think it's true to the way that we move about our lives.
Sure.
And I think even more so, we're 6 years away from it, but in this post-COVID world, we're pre-COVID, I'd cross somebody on the sidewalk, right? In Old Orchard, walking the dogs, we'd cross them on the sidewalk. Anymore, we're getting to opposite sides of the sidewalk, opposite sides of the road.
Yeah.
And so I think it's, we don't take the time to really get to know somebody and ask in-depth questions, and I think I enjoy that piece about it. I've also, I've really enjoyed the feedback that I've heard from friends. It's really encouraging when what they're saying about what they like about the show is the reasons why.
What we're actually trying to do.
Yeah.
Right. It's great. It's been a lot of fun.
So we're going to have Mayor Tim Pedro, the mayor of Waterville, join us here on our first Mayor Monday edition here in 2026. And then we're also going to have, we will have Nick Kaufman from Kaufman Engineered Services join us as well. This is the 419, powered by WGTE. We'll be right back.
Support for the 419 comes from Witro Wealth Management, where we understand that your financial path is personal. Advisory services are offered through Capital Investment Advisory Services, LLC. Securities offered through Capital Investment Group, Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. More information at witroadvisors.com.
The 419, powered by WGTE, is made possible in part by supporters like you. Thank you.
Introducing The Local Thread, a community news series uniting voices and storytellers from across the region. In partnership with La Prensa, the Toledo Free Press, the Sojourner's Truth, Toledo Public Schools, and veteran journalist Jerry Anderson, The Local Thread brings you stories and conversations that connect our community. Hear it weeknights at 7 on FM 91 with early access on podcast platforms each morning. The Local Thread, only on WGTE.
Welcome back into the 419. It is a Mayor Monday edition of the 419, and what better way to kick it off than with Tim Pedro, the Mayor of Waterville.
Welcome.
Mayor Pedro, thank you for joining us.
Well, it's great to be here, and I think Waterville can blaze the trails, being the first Monday with the mayor. So I'm glad to be here, and I'm going to take my hat off. I just brought it because we have a great police community, fire, public works, so I brought that along. Just to let you know, I believe in all I do every day for our great city of Waterville.
Anyone that knows you, there's no doubt of that.
Why don't you introduce us to Waterville, Ohio? If folks, again, this program is on FM 91 in Toledo, Bryan, Defiance, and Lima. If folks may not be familiar with Waterville, tell us about it.
Well, John Prey, who was the founder of Waterville, he and I were buddies way back when, back in the 1800s.
High school
but yeah. But
you grew up next door to Gretchen,
right
at the same time.
Gretchen
so it's a great community, historical, right along the Maumee River. We share the Maumee River with Toledo Metro Parks. We got an excellent park system and a walkable city. We got a lot of shared paths to various spots in our community. And it's a desirable place to live in Waterville. We have an excellent school system, Anthony Wayne Schools, and even in Waterville, the primary school has been recognized nationally for the success.
All of our parks are my favorite, right? I don't have a favorite as people do children, but I will tell you, certainly during COVID, one of my offices was at Farnsworth. So it's quickly, which is the park in Waterville. It's a beautiful place. Benview, which is obviously also along the river there, is one of the most iconic places in the Metro Park system, and it probably would be new to most or unknown by others.
We would regularly, I mean, again, I've talked about it, we live in West Toledo.
Yeah.
We would drive out to Farnsworth.
I love it.
For the, playground area.
Yes.
It's so unique.
Yes.
And the kids just love kind of running down into the valley and right back up. And
all age playground too. I would be able to bring my youngest kid, and they could just fall into the softened area. So this is not a Metro Parks promo, but it is one of the highlights of that.
And Waterville regularly kind of punching above its weight in industry as well.
Yes, as a matter of fact, a very successful business community. We have Kaufman Engineering Systems. Nick Kaufman is going to be with us a little later. Third generation family business, and just done a remarkable job. As a matter of fact, they're just doing an expansion due to be open here in the next few months. Surface Combustion joins them next door. A very well-known furnace company all over the world. They manufacture pieces and parts, and there's others too. And just a great business community. And I brought some things along that I want to share with you along the way.
All right, we'll get into that at the end. I'm very curious, Tim, kind of your background. Are you originally from Northwest Ohio?
So I grew up in West Toledo. Mancy's Restaurant was my local neighborhood, if you will, and grew up on Berkeley Drive, St. Agnes Parish.
You're a five-pointer?
Five-pointer, yeah. And Pete the cop was the police officer on the corner. But grew up there on Berkeley Drive. I have 10 brothers and sisters.
Oh my goodness.
Small family.
Yeah,
sure.
Where did you fall in the line?
Right in the middle of the pack.
Okay.
The negotiator, they say.
Yeah.
Negotiator. And Kevin and I, our families go back a long way as well. But so Karen and I, married to my wife Karen, we moved to Waterville about 35 years ago. We have 4 sons, and I would say that I got involved in politics back in high school, actually back in grade school. 7th and 8th grade, you have, student council contests.
Sure.
I think I still have one of my posters from way back when.
Where'd you go to grade school? Where'd you go to high school?
St. Agnes grade school, and then Central Catholic High School.
Me too.
It's a good school.
Yes, sir. This is not their fault.
Do
you remember?
I feel the need to mock you for that, but I'm gonna let it go.
Do you remember any of your campaign slogans from elementary school?
Man, I'll send them to you. I don't remember.
Sure,
I don't
all right.
remember. But and then I progressed in, and then I worked at Central Catholic High School. I worked at the Toledo Blade for a while. I was a paper boy also, but I worked at the headquarters as well. I worked actually with John Block way back in the day, and then moved on to other work experiences. But I've always had that political idea in the back of my mind. So when I moved to Waterville, we were a village, and I ran for village council and was successful. And then I was a Waterville Township trustee, a little larger area out there. And then got on city council, and then the mayor spot opened up, and it was a natural progression. So I'm in my second term. They're 4-year terms, and in my second term I have 2 more years to go, and I love it. It's a great community. We got excellent citizens, lots of community organizations. It's just a great place to raise a family.
What do you love and maybe hate about campaigning, about being on the campaign trail?
So the campaign, I look at it this way, it's a way to beat the people.
Sure.
And in my day and running, I knocked on almost every single door in the community, the old-fashioned way. I talked to people on their doorstep, and also went to the various community events. What I disliked about that, it was just a lot of time consuming, but in the end of the day, it's part of the process. For an example, next Monday, the 12th, we have 2 seats that need to be filled because we didn't have enough qualified candidates to run the last election. So now we have 7 folks that have put in their letters of interest, and we're going to select 2 of them.
Gretchen accepts.
But to me, those folks may have missed out a little bit because they didn't campaign. 1 or 2 of them did because they ran before. So that's the piece of it. What I like about it, you get a chance to really talk to people. We're a small community. Grocery store in Kroger, Meyer's coming, in the hardware store. You just talk to your neighbors.
And you like people. I mean,
I think I do.
Yeah,
I get along
you can tell
with
you
them.
do.
Sure.
Yeah.
what do you remember? Kind of what kind of happened, or what kind of caused you to say, hey, that first time you ran for office? What had you wanting to do that? Because
So-
it's
And the conversation around your kitchen table too. Right?
Yeah.
What,
It wasn't a kitchen table, it was at the restaurant. But we had just moved to Waterville. We were a village. My sons were small, and I wanted to get involved, I was involved already in their sports and their Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts. And I just felt the next progression was to get on city council or village council.
But that in
at the
itself
time.
isn't necessarily, you're saying it as if that's, oh yeah, that you naturally ascend into this. But this is you have 4 kids and a wife, and I know you as a professional as well, so it's not like you're sitting around at home twiddling your thumbs. That progression is something that you have to commit to. So what is in your DNA that makes you want to raise your hand?
Yeah, there's a lot of people that move out, Anthony Wayne, that don't say, I'm going to move here, and then what do I do to make my
Plug
community
into the
better?
government. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great point.
So I guess it was kind of a balance of activity, and don't get me wrong, there were probably some days where things got shortchanged at home, but you make up for it on the other end. And I had my kids somewhat involved in some of the campaigning and some of the
Props,
activities.
I think they call 'em.
Props.
They can hold signs.
Yeah, that's right.
And then I'll close by saying what's really cool is now I'm able to officiate at the elementary school when they have their student council election, the 4th graders, and they get to talk about it. And so those are our future leaders.
That's
Yeah.
true.
And I tell each one of them, I said, you can be the mayor, you can be the president someday.
Yeah, and we want to keep them, right? I think prior shows that we talked a little bit about brain drain, and I'm not suggesting that we are a positive turn in that right direction, but to your point, those 4th, 5th, 6th graders, or whatever age group, we want them to call Northwest Ohio home, right? We want them to choose this be the place to live, work, and play. So that resonates.
Matt mentioned kind of having a relationship with you from a professional standpoint. Let's talk a little bit about the structure of mayor and the structure of government in Waterville. It's not a full-time job.
Right, we have
it's a full-time job. It's not a full-time position.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So
It's an important distinction.
we have an administrator, John Golkenauer. He runs the day-to-day operations. There are 6 council members and the mayor. We're all equal in terms of 1 vote, and we.
Whose vote really matters the least, though?
Pardon me.
So look right into that camera and tell me whose vote actually matters the least to you. I'm just kidding.
Let's
Go
see. Well, no.
ahead. Yeah.
So it's governed by the 7 of us, and we have a charter. We follow that, and sometimes folks can get maybe misinformation, and we need to go back to the charter. That's what we're governed as, and we need to follow that.
Your North Star.
You're right.
Yes,
right.
sir.
Do you participate in any regional government organizations, U.S. Conference of Mayors? What is your relationship with other, working relationship with other regional mayors?
So I am the president of NOMA, Northwest Ohio
Sure.
Mayors and Managers Association. Matter of fact, we got a meeting coming up at the end of January.
Everybody knows the NOMA meeting. You want that? Yeah, that's big doings. It's on my calendar.
It's a collection of mayors and managers and council members, and meet at least twice a year, sometimes 3. And it's just a collection of folks that come together and talk about common issues in their community, and it's a resource. Also involved in NORAD, Northwest Ohio Economic Development Association. I do participate in some of the RGP meetings around the area, and you can't do it alone. That's why you have these association, these professional organizations to help you.
I was gonna say, I mean, how do you balance all of that, right? So you've got all of these
100%.
committee meetings, all of these, community-wide, regional meetings, to be able to do the job and do it well.
And those are the meetings. You have to be prepared. The information that you're responsible for. Although I do know your other career on top of this as well. So you have a background in a lot of things that some council members or others may not. But the stack of information that you have to have some level of expertise on is staggering. So how do you manage this? How do you manage the time, space, and more importantly to me, the information? You're an excellent person to person. That's something that's in your DNA. But Mayor Pedro, how do you know about construction and the management of a city and all these things? How do you stay above water?
So
Bill.
I also didn't mention TMACOG and other organizations. So you try and get a lot of material you read at night, and when you go to the meetings, you're prepared to answer the questions. And then we have a team. We have a vice mayor and other council members. Sometimes they're assigned or asked to go to these other meetings. So we try and balance it, bringing that back to Waterville in this case. We mention it to the council members, and then we take some action. So it is a little bit of a balance. Sometimes you're short, but you try to get resources. And we have an excellent volunteers in our community, various committees, Parks and Recreation, Public Works, Tree Commission. We have probably one of the best tree commissions in Northwest Ohio, always winning awards. So we balance that all out.
The vacillation between micro and macro, can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, you are talking about speed bumps and small construction projects, and then you have to go macro. I mean, you're also charged, I assume, presumably with growing the pod as well. So can you talk a little bit about the challenge or opportunity or how you vacillate between those two concepts?
So we have a land use plan. We just finished it up a couple months ago. Community members sat in on about a 15, 16-month process, looked at what was done years ago, the last plan, and then where it was today, updated. That's the guide, that's the...
How many Halloween spirit stores can we have? And the answer is, we get to decide.
Half dozen.
That's right.
But you take that as your blueprint, and sometimes you have to make some adjustments in between, but that's kind of the high level. And then some day-to-day things. Sometimes, I got a call yesterday, snowing, right? Leaves come down. Well, they didn't come down this year until late in the season.
Yeah.
And so then we got snow. And we had a fellow call me yesterday and had some issues with clogging the drain. Called our Public Works, and they're on it. So that's the simple ones, but we try to let the administration.
That's exactly what I mean, micro to macro.
But this is in a community as close-knit as Waterville. I think back to, I managed a college apartment complex years ago.
Who hasn't?
Yeah, that's right. And once people figured out where I lived, at 3 o'clock in the morning,
That's right.
I've got somebody, knocking on my door to tell me that their pilot light is out.
Yeah.
And they want to make cookies because they just got home from the bar, right?
Yeah,
I
sure.
think.
I didn't mean to bother you.
Yeah. Thanks,
I
Gretchen.
didn't mean to buy.
But
I'm sorry, I didn't know what a pilot was.
But Tim, I got to believe in a community that size, when you're just wanting to be Tim Pedro, dad, husband, Waterville resident, and go to the grocery
Grandpa.
store,
Grandpa,
go to
nice.
the, or go to the bar, and have a drink. Somebody there is going to want to talk to you about roads and sidewalks and leaves and stuff.
Absolutely. And sometimes that's the best time to get at it. And they may have wanted to call me, but we're such a small community, it's okay to do that. But I immediately get a hold of the administrator, and then they handle it. We try not to do it ourselves.
I love so much that I asked a question about you being overwhelmed and your personal time, and you got excited about it,
Yeah, I
right?
did.
So you're
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's what you signed up for, right?
And your wife, at the risk of asking a personal question, your wife is like, yes, please leave the house immediately. Or talk to literally anyone else. But how does she enjoy being the first lady of Waterville? That is something that she signed up for too. She likes it. She hates it. She wants you to talk about it live on the air. Talk to me about the first lady.
Karen is very reserved, and she participates in it. But she has her space. She lets me have mine, and it's a good balance.
Sounds like it.
Matt sort of mentioned, some of the kind of the macro things that you've got to work on, and economic development and growing the city. I know there's been a lot of conversation around data centers, and obviously trying to balance, how do we grow the city with respect that we're a small community that's tight knit. I want to talk about that more when we come back. This is the 419 powered by WGTE, presented by Wheatro Wealth Management. We'll be right back.
To me, community means connecting to others.
What will it really take to bring peace to Toledo's neighborhoods?
We're a community committed to education. Discover new ideas, dive into exciting subjects, and engage with the world around you.
It's all chapters in a book.
I would send them personally a t-shirt. Crime doesn't pay in the Old West End, pass it on. That's how we cleaned up the neighborhood.
Brings back memories that you don't think are there,
WGTE Public Media invites you to Get Out and Play Day.
The people of Toledo have really become a family. They walk in and it's just like, hey, it's so good to see you.
Hello there and welcome to a WGTE Public Media Town Hall meeting.
WGTE, where you come to watch, listen, and learn.
I love PBS Kids.
Hey, welcome back into the 419, where it's a Mayor Monday, and we are talking with Waterville Mayor Tim Pedro.
I've got a quick question for you, Mayor. I have no idea what you're doing right now, but can you tell me your favorite fictional mayor in the history of fictional mayors?
I can't think of a fictional mayor.
The mayor of Gotham.
Mayor McCheese?
Mayor McCheese.
Well, that's a real person, so.
Well, you stumped me on that.
Yeah.
I can
17 minutes to fill, brother. So.
I can deviate a little bit from that.
Do it.
My recollection when I decided to run for village council, young, and got involved, I got a hold of our mayor at the time, Dave Meyerholtz, and he gave me some tips. But then as I got into the campaign, I remember him telling me, Tim, you were newer to the community. He said, don't run for one issue. Sometimes people get involved, there's just one thing that really are excited about, positive or negatively, and they run. They get in there and they realize they're one vote.
Yes. Right.
And so Dave said, just run with the idea you're going to have a lot of opportunity. And that stuck with me over these years, Dave Meyerholtz.
I have to tell you that if I can expand upon that just a little bit, it is refreshing anytime anyone starts out a conversation indiscriminate of the core of it to talk about what they are as opposed to what they are not. There's sort of the essence of the show, right? When you ask people what they're interested in or things of that variety, sometimes they talk about things they're not interested in. Like, that's not what I asked you, right? So
right.
That resonates with me.
When you and I met, it was through the Oregon Economic Development Foundation, and your work out there. I was working out at Cardinal Stritch at the time, and people referred to Tim as the mayor of Waterville. And I did not realize that that was actually his title. Like, I just thought that was more of a term of respect, or just the way
Certainly.
he carried
Yeah,
himself.
that's
that,
right.
you know, here's a guy that lives in Waterville, that knows everybody.
Represents it.
Naturally,
Yeah, sure.
he's the mayor of Waterville.
Yeah.
And then it was years later. I mean, an entirely
didn't know
an
that he was the
embarrassing
actual-
amount of time.
Oh my God.
that I
That's the
realized
kind
he
of cutting edge thinking that made this show happen. Yeah, that's right.
You know, you talk about, you know, you don't run for a single issue, and I think it's because you realize that, you know, communities are more complicated than that. But obviously, at various times in your tenure as mayor, different issues are going to pop up and be the hot button issue that everybody wants to know about, that everybody has an opinion on. And right now, it seems like that moment, that conversation right now is around data centers. Admittedly, as somebody who doesn't live in Waterville, I feel fairly confident that they're not going to make plans to put a data center in West Toledo. And so there's some of the out of sight, out of mind for me that I don't pay as much attention to it. Can you kind of explain to me what is the conversation? What is the, you know, what's going on?
Right. I'd like to take a step back because it's kind of a cycle. When I was first moved to the village, the topic then was the 24 bypass. That was very much in the center of news, a lot of meetings, a lot of ideas, and it came to some resolution, and we have 24. The next one was a development just outside the village limits, and there was a lot of issues with that, very much in the news, and they talked about it and they got through it. We had an amphitheater a couple years ago. I'd say the market played itself out. We have no data center, or excuse me, no amphitheater. Today we have the data centers. I've mentioned this to the community. I believe Waterville does not have the space to house a data center. A few of us, including the fellow council member and our administrator, we went to New Albany. There's other places that have data centers, and talked to the city leaders there and got a feel for what's there. So we're trying to bring information back to citizens.
We're talking about 400 or 500 acres, is the
that's even like 600 and 700 acres. We just don't have that in our community. So a lot of folks think that there could be a data center, and honestly, I don't think industry would support that. Now, having said that, we are aware in our neighborhood, Waterville Township, Monclova Township rather, there is some talk about a data center there. So actually, as we sit here today, there's no plans to have a data center in Waterville, Ohio. We did pass a moratorium back in December for 6 months, and the reason for that was just to give all of us a chance to go to New Albany or wherever and learn about them. But honestly, I don't see it happening.
I mean, you mentioned, you know, 24, and obviously you're going to have people that, you know, see it and say, hey, I'm excited about, you know, helping move people through our region, and folks say, I don't want a highway in my backyard, right? And so all of these issues, and you say that you've gotten through all of them. What has been consistent for you in your process of approaching something like this? You mentioned, you know, visiting New Albany. I mean, is it community meetings? Is it, you know, hang out at Big B Coffee and chat with, you know, the folks in your community?
I think it's a combination of all those things, but at the end of the day, we got to talk about these things. And one of the reasons why the moratorium was passed was there was so much controversy and noise.
Yeah.
We just couldn't have a conversation. And I'm okay if someone wants a data center or doesn't want it, but we need to be respectful of how you communicate it. And I think those folks know who they are, and they've crossed the line, and you lose some credibility. On the other hand, we got some solid people that don't want it, and they give factual information. We got to deal with the facts. My predecessor, Lori Brody, told me on her way out, Tim, there's going to be a lot of items on your agenda. You got to separate the emotions and deal with the facts. And I try to do that. I'm human. Sometimes I bust myself, but recognize it, own it, and then move on.
Good mantra.
What, as you look to the future of Waterville, what are some of your big plans and goals for that community?
So I'm glad you brought that up because I'm preparing my remarks for our meeting January 20th with the Chamber of Commerce. But
can you provide all of them right now?
Right now, I'm going to get a head start.
Bury your lead.
But I can tell you, just take a step back. Our community, if you go back to the bypass, and now you go with the Gordie Howell Bridge, which is going to open up momentarily.
Very soon. Mm-hmm.
You got traffic coming down 75 to Toledo, and then maybe down to Findlay, or over to Defiant to Fort Wayne. We are at the hub of that development. We need to be prepared for that kind of activity, and I think we are with our land use plan. We partnered with the Toledo-Lucas County Port Authority recently, a couple years ago. They purchased some land adjacent to our business park, where our friend Nick Kaufman has a business, and Surface Combustion and others, and they are helping to develop that. We have some other space on 24 and 64 that will probably become developed soon. And we've had Meyer grocery store, bought property probably 20 years ago. They just announced they broke ground, if you will, in November, I believe, and that's going to be happening. So that intersection is going to grow. We got great housing, we got great stock, we got builders, developers that do a quality project, homes for our community. And I believe that we have balance. We try to balance things. So circle back to your original question, we got to sit down and talk about these things. Mm-hmm. And the land use plan is one of those outlines where if we're going to have some industrial businesses, they're sort of over in this corner. If we're going to have homes, they're sort of over in this corner. Now, there always will be exceptions, but we got to talk about it.
I like the idea that, at the end of the day, we're going to be neighbors.
Right.
Sure.
It's we can disagree on this thing, but the reality is, in 18 months, in 18 years, we're going to see each other, walking down the aisle of the grocery store. And we've got to live together. So.
Well, that's the good news is based on your leadership, there's now going to be 2 major grocery stores in Waterville. So it will cut down on the potential of running into.
One other segue on that. Again, it goes back, you got to do a scorecard, but we in the community, we have a cooperative effort with White House, mm-hmm. our neighbor down the road, Waterville Township. During COVID, of all times, we started a fire co-op. Basically, it was the 2 communities, incling Waterville Township.
Got all of your arsonists together.
Yeah. Got together and say, how can we plan this? Because do we need 2 ladder trucks?
Right.
Do we need 3 of
Those
this
are
or
expensive.
that? And the training, so that's well on its way. Additionally, we have a cemetery district. And we came together as a region of communities to work together, and it's very successful. So we are doing those things already. I've been talking with our community members in Waterville Township and the village of White House. How could we be more cooperative?
Well, I don't want to spend. We are going to do an entire show to cemetery districts, so I don't want to talk too much about that. But you have brought, in true Tim Pedro fashion,
yes,
you have brought a cornucopia
yes.
of.
We also demand gifts
of items from your beloved of Waterville. So walk us through what you brought and the story behind it.
First of all, I want you to know we have great coffee shops in Waterville, and I'm drinking out of Wheatrose coffee cup, but in here is Big B Coffee, great family business right in Waterville. I'm gonna take a sip right now.
Okay, good.
Just take a minute and
I
enjoy
noticed you
that.
didn't bring any for us, but that's
well,
okay.
Easy, Gretchen. This is a guess.
Additionally, if we're on liquids, I want you to know that I brought along some items that we're proud, and then we have Buffalo Rock, which is a brewery owned by 2 brothers and their friend that started this. This was an old gas station, an old car wash that was dilapidated for many years. These guys rehabbed it.
I've never been more excited for more car washes in our region than I am with seeing what Buffalo Rock
is.
That
they can transition into.
That's right.
Very nice. We'll put this on our shelf.
And I brought some samples of Buffalo Rock Brewery beer. I know you can't have it till noon, but it's there for the like.
The River Fog, I love it. And this one is.
And then the other thing is
in the net.
we have a very cool business in Waterville.
This is really cool.
Caruth Studio.
Yes.
Now George and Deb, they have moved on, but the current ownership continues to make products like this.
It's really a tourist attraction.
It is.
It is a destination for sure.
We've got a showroom. You can buy them online, but Caruth Studios.
There is a radio portion of this, of course, Tim. So can you talk a little bit about Caruth, what they make and what they're known for?
So George Caruth and his wife started the business many years ago, and they have various stones, if you will. George will commission 1 or 2 pieces a year, but if you go out there, there's all kinds of memorabilia like this for your homes and the sundials, and it's a great, all over the country.
And in no relation to Ray Caruth, the murdering wide receiver. From
No, I
Carolina
don't.
Palace.
No, you're right.
Okay.
You're right.
That we know of.
That's right.
We know, yeah.
Allegedly. Am I using that right? This Caruth is a destination, and it is a big part of gift ideas. It's truly wonderful.
All kinds of
nice
things.
Yeah,
Thank
wonderful.
you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you
That's
for that.
incredible.
Additionally,
Yes.
Oh boy.
we have, and I didn't bring the whole cigar box, but 3rd Street Cigars in downtown Waterville. Now, in itself, it's just a great place to go buy some cigars or enjoy some refreshment. But John Henry and his team, they give back to our community so often. They help run the various festivals in downtown Waterville with Rotary and Rots and Blues and Oliver Hazard. We have a great
Oliver Hazard Day
we have a
is
great
so
program.
fun.
In fact, they're on tour. They're going to Europe.
Yeah.
So that's another piece of our rock. I got a couple more.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. All right, we got to move because I
All right.
also want to get you with our 419 quiz.
All right, and Farnsworth Cocktail Lounge.
Such
I
a
brought
great
you
place.
something for there, and
Oh, good Lord.
You can go right from Caruth and then have lunch or dinner at Farnsworth.
you can. And the other thing is, they just announced. I was with Josh yesterday. They just announced a brand new menu that they're going to be putting down as of yesterday. I want you to have that.
Good Lord, thank you.
Additionally,
Kevin, you'll lead here. Cut this guy off. We could spend all day talking about Waterville, but we got to put you on the hot seat.
we got a great Chamber of Commerce. Come out and enjoy Waterville.
I love it. I love it. Mayor Tim Pedro from Waterville, thank you. All right, it's time for Gretchen's Wacky Quiz. I'm going to ask you 4 rapid-fire questions.
All right.
Gretchen's going to ask you your favorite thing in the region, and Matt's going to have you describe the region in 9 words. What's your favorite Halloween costume?
Bozo.
Love it.
What was the worst purchase you've ever made?
My second Bozo costume.
Pair of shoes that I thought fit, but they don't.
Done.
That's not too bad.
What's something you would not do for $5 million?
Nothing.
$5 million, that's a lot of money.
No shame in that. That's exactly what we said off camera. Yeah.
I think I'd do about put the $5 million aside. I'm willing to take a chance, a risk. I would study it. I would try and analyze it. So I don't have an answer for you on that.
You've already answered. You can be bought.
Are you more of a morning person or a night owl?
Morning.
What is your #1 favorite thing about Northwest Ohio region or Waterville?
Honestly, the Waterville River, Maumee River, and the peace. When I get rallied up with a lot of noise, I go down to the river. I might tell my wife, I'm going down to the river. This summer, because the water was so low, I would walk out into the river with my little stool from the LPGA tournament, and I sit there and just chill out.
I love it.
Brought to you by your Metro Parks. All right, 9 words to describe Waterville or your region. We've got to roll through them fast, man.
All right.
So you tell me the words that describe the region to you. We need 9.
Safe.
Good. Keep going.
Education system.
Good. 3rd.
Community spirit.
Yes.
Willingness to succeed.
Yep.
Volunteers.
Great.
Community members step up to do the job.
No word that these aren't 1 words, but keep going.
All right.
I think that counts.
I think we have a good governance.
Good governance. Yep. 2 more.
We're a welcoming community.
Absolutely welcoming. Love it.
And it's a desirable community.
Desirable community. That's 9.
Mayor Pedro, thank you so much for being here.
From Waterville, Ohio. Mayor, thank you so much for taking the time with us. When we come back, we are going to be joined by a great local business in Waterville, Nick Kaufman, 3rd-generation owner of Kaufman Engineered Systems. I got to make sure I get this right this time. We'll be right back on the 419.
Support for the 419 comes from Witro Wealth Management, where we understand that your financial path is personal. Advisory services are offered through Capital Investment Advisory Services, LLC. Securities offered through Capital Investment Group, Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. More information at witroadvisors.com.
WorkSpring. HR issues and employee well-being go hand in hand. WorkSpring supports employers through compliance, training, and wellness because healthy workplaces don't happen by accidents. Learn more at workspring.org.
Toledo Refining Company, a subsidiary of PDF Energy. Toledo Refining Company is a supplier of fuels that keep our region moving. Located in Oregon, Ohio, the refinery processes crude oil into gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, and other petroleum products.
And TARDA, celebrating its 55th year of connecting Northwest Ohioans to their community. More information at tarda.com.
Welcome back into the 419. It's a Mayor Monday, and we're talking all things Waterville. We're joined now by Nick Kaufman, a third-generation owner, I hear, for Kaufman Engineered Systems.
Now, I heard it was services.
No. I said that, and it is. Don't put that on me.
Yeah.
I said during the break, if I'm going to get part of the name wrong, I got the Kaufman right.
That's right.
Tell
he
me
wants credit for that.
I do.
Yeah.
I set the bar as low as humanly
yeah.
possible. I got literally 2/3 of your name right. Come on. 67% is failing in every school in America.
That's true.
Tell me, what is Kaufman Engineered Systems?
We're an automation manufacturing company located in Waterville. We've been there since 1994. We moved to Waterville.
Yeah. From where?
So
where did you move from?
South Toledo here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure.
So we've always
We don't give up
been
the
in the
location
area.
of this recording.
That's okay.
We don't want our fans,
Sure.
It's
both of them to show up here.
That's right, mostly Gretchen's mom.
What does that actually mean when you say we're an automation company? I mean, what are you producing? What are you automating?
Yeah. So again, manufacturing at its heart. So we weld, fabricate, build machines, material handling machines. And then again on the automation side, automating that equipment for our customers or end of line. So what is that exactly? So a good example would be for Fortune 100 companies out there across the nation. We call end of line automation because we typically are at the end of a production line. So all around stacking, packing, and wrapping, stretch wrapping products that to get ready for shipment. So, it can be your water bottles or, a majority of like food. Think of all the different food people around.
Is it any industry focused, or is it automotive? Is it retail? Is it?
Primarily, it's pretty everything but automotive. So food, beverage, container, building products.
In customer base just in the region or
care.
all over the country?
All over the country. We had done a little bit international, but we backed off of that. We're so busy here in just the U.S. We kind of reverted and focused on that.
Your grandmother or grandfather started this business. What was the first widget? What started Kaufman from the very first day? What is it in the garage? Is it?
Yes,
Toledo?
it was not far from where we're at. A
Please,
stone's
Nick,
throw.
what did I tell you? I mean, droves of people would be driving here to see.
Yeah. No, it was the old-fashioned. My grandfather grit and started a business in industrial heat treat furnaces and ovens, and out of his garage was building the first, oven, and actually it was built right out of the garage and the city shut him down because it was going across the sidewalk. And hey, Mr.
That's
Kaufman,
exactly
that's
that kind of governmental stuff. That's why we got Pedro off the show.
Right, yeah.
Tell me about that guy. Your grandfather was a tinkerer, was a genius, was an alpha male. What was his character?
Well, of course, so I was young. He passed, some time ago when I was still probably in grade school, high school, or actually just graduating college. So at that age, you get to know your grandfather, but not, through adulthood and so forth.
That's right.
You're
That's
not as
well articulated.
But my understanding and knowing and who he was, you know, he's just a loving person. I mean, the greatest guy in the world. And everything you hear about him and how he treated the employees, he was just a top-notch guy that cared about the employees, his family, everybody around him. And that's kind of what we try and model today. You know, to do what he did, you know, he was the guy that forged the early years, just sacrificed a lot to make this business happen, because it's not easy. Any business, right?
That's right.
It is hard in that to establish it, the time it takes, the sacrifices, family,
make it sustainable.
And so I just appreciate everything he did to give. You know, second was it was taken over. So it was Larry Kaufman was my grandfather, and then succeeded by Larry Kaufman Jr., Charlie Kaufman, and Bob Kaufman, who took over the company from him. And then now myself and my cousin Brian Kaufman, and then Larry's two siblings, Sean and Ted Kaufman, and now we actually have fourth generation, my son, Nicholas Kaufman.
How old's your son?
He's 24.
Okay, that must feel, I mean, wonderful. So you go to work every day with your family and your son.
Yeah, and we get along.
Yeah, sure. Family businesses, that is not always the case, right?
Yeah,
so that is
talk to me about that piece, right? I mean, I think it's, you know, growing up, was there always an expectation that you'd get into this line of work?
No, you know, right. When I think the way I see it, when a lot of us follow our parents' footsteps, and it may not be they're in the same business, but they're in the same line of work. So insurance, I heard you talk about, or financial, or any type of business, we grow up with our family and our parents around how they work and what they work in. It could be medical too, right? I see a lot of my friends, and their dad was a doctor, so he's a doctor, or you know, vehicle sales, going to vehicle sales. So we follow our parents' footsteps. If you took a stat, I bet you it's like at least 50%.
Sure.
But anyways, there was that, the business was there. Like I grew up right around it. My dad would take me to work on Saturdays to get me out of my mom's hair, right? And she'd been with us all week, so he'd take my brother and I over there, and then give her relief, whatever. So, and then, you know, we grew up, I'm cutting the grass, you know, once we get time to start doing work, and out in the shop, sweeping the floors, and
you guys together as a family on the weekends, or how do you get away? Do you have a hobby or something that allows you to?
I got lots of hobbies.
Tell me the number one on your list right now.
My number one hobby?
Yeah.
Well, it's winter, so you know, I love winter sports. So whether that's skiing or snowmobiling, that's my snowmobiling's just my biggest passion, probably.
How about that? All right.
But the family business can and does have a tendency to sort of consume the whole family. You know, everyone, you go to family gatherings, you're talking about meetings that you had during the week. You know, it's a pervasive part of the family life. What happens to are there people that choose not to become part of the company?
There is, yeah. Some have, you know, again, so my dad had 5 siblings. My mom's side the same way, and then all of us cousins. There was 3 kids per sibling, so that expands out and keeps going pretty big, right? So there's a majority, right, that are not in the business. Both my dad's siblings that weren't. Out of, you know, there was the 3 boys,
right?
The 2 girls, my aunts, did not, and that continues on. So there's a big majority that aren't involved, and you know, we try and respect in family events and gatherings that we don't do the business thing. Well, that's
it's
not
Thanksgiving. We're here to do
that.
Yeah,
it's not. It's hard. That overtone is always around, but you just try and throw it away at that time and just focus on you being a family. And
I don't know if this is a fair question, but in terms of products or partnerships, because I'm sure you think of them as partnerships, right? I mean, you do build for. In conjunction with others. Is there something that you're particularly proud of, or something that you've been able to execute as a company that represented a growth that you were like, okay, now we're at the next level? Anything like that sticks out to you?
Wow, there's a lot of them.
Sure. You don't stick around this long by having just one, I'm sure. One that sticks out to you that's not necessarily your favorite, but.
It's hard. You know, we've just built we build these systems, right? These large automation systems, and when you enter into them, some are more challenging than others. And,
sure.
The R&D that goes into them, but you know, just reinventing. You know, so one of our key products is our stretch wrapper.
Okay.
And that's really from the oven business. We moved into the stretch wrapping, automation more.
Tell us what stretch wrapping is.
Stretch wrapping is where you guys go, okay, we go to Costco and there's an end dial display, we call it, and you're going by and there's all those granola bars and they're sitting in your face. Oh, I'm gonna get some granola bars. That stack on that pallet, that whole pallet got there and it was wrapped. So we put the film around the load to contain it for shipment. So it gets picked up at whatever the manufacturer was, right, that produced it, and it has to get shipped to a DC, and then that DC goes to your grocery store. Well, it has to be contained, otherwise it's all over the truck.
And is that
so
the
we
same,
apply the film to the load.
Is that the same machine that's going to everybody that does it, or are you dialing in certain pieces of this machine for the specific customer?
Yeah, there's lots of, so it's, yes, here's a stretch wrapper, but then there's lots of different add-ons that you can have to that stretch wrapper. This person ships on a pallet, this person ships on a slip sheet. Yeah. This person has nothing. Oh, we want to put a corrugated sheet on top of the load. Oh, we need corner boards to protect the load. There's lots of options.
Nick, do you think in terms of this way, I mean, I
was just going to ask this question.
Is your house, no you weren't, is your house organized in this way? Do you think about how you put things in your kitchen to make sure that it's efficient? Is that how your brain works, or did you coach this?
If you're a systems guy, you probably across the board, right?
Yeah, you mean, am I organized kind of? Yeah, I'm probably, you know.
Your family asked us to have you on the show. And talk this is not come on out, guys.
Yeah, I'm a little type A.
Yeah, sure.
You know,
there's no little type A. There's type A.
Yeah, I'm a lot type A, but there's certain things that I'm not type A. She's like, well, how come you leave your shoes in the middle of the room every time, right?
Yeah.
You know, but everything else I want.
That's right.
You're waiting for someone to wrap them in plastic, obviously.
I want to talk about community, right? Obviously, we're focused on Waterville today.
Yeah.
Your business has moved to Waterville. Talk to me about kind of responsibilities of being a business in a community and the role that you guys play as a neighbor, not just as a business.
And have you ever wanted to wrap a neighbor in plastic?
We've done that. We've wrapped each other in plastic.
Show. Yeah.
Different show.
Yeah.
You know, I think, you know, we want to support our community, all the local businesses, you know, and like Tim was saying, we've got lots of great local businesses.
Yes.
You know, Waterville Body Works down there. So if we have a car, somebody's hits their car, whatever. Hey, go see John and Randy down there and get the car fixed. So it's, you know, honestly, when I first came in, you don't think about all that at first, but then our whole, you know, all our employees and the whole community, Toledo, not just Waterville, but all the surrounding Toledo, you know, our employment comes from even Michigan, you know, outside a little bit. We got people commuting an hour away.
And you're contributing to all of those communities.
Yeah, so, you know, we like to just be a good employer and for our people. You know, we're a family business, right?
How many employees do you have?
We're almost to 170, I think.
How about that?
It's been
from garage to 170.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there's been some vastly.
And there's been an explosion. Like the last 4 years, there's got to be. We were like 110, and now all of a sudden it's like 170.
Well, that doesn't happen on its own too. Anything that, as you expand, right, is that's based on obviously need, hopefully and presumably, or demand. But any growing successes, or like I said, something that came in, or a big client. What is the reason for the growth, other than just your genius?
Well, no, I'm not far from that. But the growth, I think, you know, once again, the automation industry, right? Robotics. We have our whole material handling that Kaufman manufactures and have manufactured, so we have this custom niche, if you would. Okay. Everything's not just a widget, it's always unique. Our joke is the standard. We really want a standard, but we can never have it.
Yeah.
But the manufacturing and then the robotics, it's just very prevalent today. It's needed, and after COVID, the lack of labor force, number one out there.
Yeah.
Our customers, everybody in the manufacturing industry right now, all these plants are challenged because the lack of labor.
Sure.
And they're forced now to automate if before, oh, we'll just get by and we'll still hire a bunch of people for that, which was difficult. But now, so after COVID, it was just like, I mean, it was always really good and consistent and busy, but after that, the throttle went down and it just blew up.
Good for you.
If your grandfather was able to walk into the warehouse, walk into the office today, what do you hope he'd say?
Great job.
Oh, man.
Nick Kaufman with Kaufman Engineered Systems. Nick, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and thanks for joining us for our first ever Mayor Monday. This is the time in the program where we ask you to tell us all of the dirty secrets about Tim Pedro.
We have 30 seconds.
That's right.
No, we appreciate your time being a part of this and the work that you're doing in the community. 3 generations is that's hard work, right? That's not a given. That's not the business may be passed on, but the growth is not. That's hard work. So nice job. We'll be right back to close out this Mayor Monday edition of the 419.
Every day when you walk,
you laughed with us. You learned with us.
Hi, neighbor.
We made sure your childhood was special. Memories that could only be provided by PBS. For generations, we've given you programs that made a difference. Programs that entertained, informed, and inspired. And today is no different. This is WGTE Public Media in Toledo. It's where you belong.
Introducing The Local Thread, a community news series uniting voices and storytellers from across the region. In partnership with La Prensa, the Toledo Free Press, the Sojourner's Truth, Toledo Public Schools, and veteran journalist Jerry Anderson. The Local Thread brings you stories and conversations that connect our community. Hear it weeknights at 7 on FM 91 with early access on podcast platforms each morning. The Local Thread, only on WGTE.
Welcome back into a final episode of final segment, not final episode.
You're making an announcement.
Little foreshadowing. Yeah.
It's the 419 powered by WGTE. The end of our first Mayor Monday.
What a charmer that Mayor Pedro is.
We have had the mayor on a number of our ventures, and the wagon of trinkets that he brings in.
Yeah.
It's charming. He's a good ambassador and mayor to the area, to your point, because I mean he brings the stuff because he's out doing the stuff.
Yeah, and there's 2 main reasons why he brings all of this stuff, right? I mean, one, he's just an incredibly kind individual.
Agreed.
And he's also incredibly proud of his community.
And we also demanded presence.
Okay, that's the third reason.
Yeah, not one more important than the other. But
I really enjoyed the conversation with Nick Kaufman as well.
I do as well.
I think you think about the responsibilities that come with being a family business and carrying on that legacy. And so every day you go to work and you're thinking about your employees, but I think you got to be thinking about your dad and your grandpa and saying, they're kind of what would grandpa do, right?
Yeah, I love that question, and it was sincere, and I'm glad he was able to say the answer that he did.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so Mayor Monday is in the books. Tomorrow, our friends with Community Foundation are going to help us have a conversation with some incredible community leaders. We're going to be talking with Zach Vassar from Live Arts Toledo, and we're also going to be talking with Principal Dancer as well. So that'll be an incredible conversation, and of course, we appreciate the opportunity Monday through Friday to be able to have conversations with folks in the community that are making an impact, making real change, and making this a better place. And so we appreciate, certainly I appreciate the opportunity to do this with you guys every single day. I appreciate you guys not letting me in that you're going to wear coordinating outfits today. So for our YouTube and TV audience.
Let's wear denim every Monday.
Well, it's Denim Monday. I don't know about that. But if you missed any portion of the show or you missed Gretchen's fashion advice, you can catch it, like we said, Monday through Friday, 3 different opportunities. 7 a.m. on YouTube, WGTE's YouTube channel. It is 3 p.m. on FM 91 in Toledo, Bryan, Defiance, and Lima. And it is at 6 p.m. on 30.4 WGTE Connects. It's the 419, powered by WGTE presented by Witro Wealth Management.
The 419, powered by WGTE, is made possible in part by supporters like you. Thank you.